Heyo, it's Flogo, and today we are talking about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is actually something that I've kind of dealt with for a while, ever since I was in high school, actually. And I realized that a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome, and I wanted to talk about it with y'all. Today, we will be going over what exactly is imposter syndrome, a little bit about my own experiences, and what you can do to deal with it. And by deal with it, I mean kick it in the ass, because that sounds a little bit cooler, a little bit more badass, and that is exactly the type of energy that we are manifesting for today. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So, what exactly is imposter syndrome? Well, it's feeling when you really doubt or discount the accomplishments and achievements that you have. It's pretty much that little horrible, annoying voice in the bottom of your head saying like, oh, you're totally a fake. You don't deserve this. What if people expose you? So things like that, you know. Sounds pretty gross if you ask me. Imposter syndrome is actually pretty prevalent in new situations and settings, such as like a new school, like university, or a new workplace. It can also occur in social interactions, such as relationships, whether they be platonic or romantic. Sometimes you can even feel like you're tricking people into liking you or wanting to spend time with you, which I know sounds a little bit messed up, but that's pretty much what we're dealing with here today. Alrighty, so my own experiences with imposter syndrome kind of stem from the fact that I used to always tie my self-worth with my achievements. To preface this slightly, I basically alternate/oscillate between two identities, one of which I think I am simply on top of the world, no one can touch me, and the other of which I feel pretty crappy. I feel like I am a fake, I'm a fraud, and I'll talk a little bit more about my high school experience with it. So in high school, I was basically the girl that my teachers knew and my friends knew to really love science and to really love physics. I kind of stemmed a lot of my self-worth from that. I just had always kind of done well in that area, and I expected myself to do well because, I mean, my friends kind of stereotyped me, or like, not really stereotype, but like, we had a running gag that I would be like the nerd of the group or whatever, which, you know, I wear that as a badge of pride. But I still remember in grade 11, so a couple years ago, I actually took my first ever IB Chem test. I basically took a week off school because I went to Ottawa for this program called Encounters with Canada, and I missed a week of content. So when I came back, it was a little bit hard for me to catch up. Mind you, this test is historically pretty difficult for students just because it's their first experience with an IB Chem test. And for me, I completely bombed it. I got a solid 40% on that test. So I remember feeling like trash. Like basically my self-esteem went from like it was bad, but I kind of just had like a week where I would like mope around. I felt like my whole identity had been shattered, and I just didn't really know what to think about myself. Even after I eventually rebounded from that, had that a little bit of a voice in the back of my head saying like, oh, well, are you really capable of this? Like, can you really do it? After that, I started, well, like my grades, that was just like an anomaly. They went back up after that, but even when I organized things for like science club or when I was teaching other students about STEM, I kind of felt like, wow, am I really doing this because I want to do it, or am I just trying to fill out the shoes that I kind of set out for myself, right? In my senior year of high school, though Miss Rona basically came in and totaled my senior year, we still had a valedictory vote. And I was one of the 3 nominees for my grad class. And I was pretty pumped, you know, I like made my little campaign videos and everything like that. But unfortunately, I actually came in, or like, I guess not unfortunately, that's just me speaking from the paradigm that I'm the center of the world, which I'm not. But I didn't actually win. I came in second place, which I think was totally fair because I honestly didn't know like a good third of my grad class. But the person who did win, he was kind of outed for saying some like insensitive and like nasty comments about his fellow nominees, and basically the school saw it and said, well, this is not someone that we want to represent our grad class. So I got a call from the vice president or vice principal, and they were like, well, you're the valedictorian now. And for me, I really felt like I didn't deserve it because, I mean, I wasn't like the popular vote, or I didn't like win fair and square. I mean, I felt like I still gave a pretty banger speech, but some part of me was always saying like why you? Like, why are you doing this? There's so many other people who are more qualified. And I kind of just had that sit on my chest for a while. So today we're exposing myself. Even in university, I kind of came in with the mindset that like I had to do well, because in high school, I mean, I had like that very solid 4.0 GPA, and I know like they tell you when you go to university like, oh, your grades are gonna drop, and for the most part, my grades didn't drop too much. I'm kind of being generous with myself right now, but I remember in calculus I had this one assignment. It was like a weekly quiz / assignment thingy that, again, I like did not pass, and that was just like big toll on my kind of my self-esteem, because at that point I wasn't even like hanging out with friends because, you know, like coronavirus. I would just be staying at home studying all day, and I felt like I was putting in all this effort and not really seeing results. So I guess after kind of tying like my own identity to what I was achieving, that was just not a good time for me. And when the restrictions kind of lifted a little bit, I was able to go for a bubble tea run, because yeah, girl, Asian like that. And I grabbed bubble tea, and my friend and I, we sat in the parking lot in his car, and I basically started like ugly crying. Like it was not pretty. Just because I felt like I was putting in all of this effort and I was trying so hard, but it really wasn't working. It just felt like I was this huge fake. Like, I tried to portray myself as someone who's on top of everything, someone who loves to join extracurriculars, loves to participate in the community, and also keep up with school. And I felt like a lot of people perceived me that way. But in reality, I just felt like a huge imposter. So yes, but enough about all of my problems. Right now we're going to talk about ways that you can actually deal with this. And now for the part that you may or may not have been waiting for: how to kick imposter syndrome in the ass. So the first thing that I kind of started doing when I was feeling down and feeling like a fraud was verbal affirmations. So I would either look in a mirror or just sit by myself, and even though it seems pretty silly, I would just say things out loud like, okay, you can do this, like, you got this. You have no reason why you can't do this. So just things like that. And whenever I had like a negative thought, like, oh, like I don't really know why me of all people are doing this, I would just kind of turn it around and put like a positive spin on it. Like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm qualified to do it because of these reasons. And kind of just like back it up and continually tell yourself, because the more you do, the more that you'll actually internalize it and believe it. So it might be kind of weird to start off, but yes, I promise you it will help. Just try it out. Next, something that really helps me is to write down everything. I kind of like to write down reflections, so why I'm feeling like this, why I feel like I'm not qualified, and then I build on that. So what do I think I could have done better? What have I done well? And afterwards, I like to reflect on kind of what I would like to be like. So I actually have a document in my Notion, you know, shout out to any Notion users out there, but where I basically write down what the person that I want to be is like. So how do they treat other people? How do they interact with friends and family? I put that all down in a document and kind of try to manifest that in my own life. Lastly, I also write about goals and ambitions that I want to achieve, so kind of similar to the person that I want to be document. Just where I put down all the things that I know that I want in life, but I don't really have a concrete idea of how to achieve it yet. And basically through this, I kind of break it up from like a really abstract idea. So like, get an internship with blah 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 category or whatever industry, and I break it down into actionable steps that I can start with today or tomorrow. I mean, if I'm gonna procrastinate, but hopefully today. It really helps me to mentalize things and to break them down into their constituent chunks, because when you're looking at like one big goal or like one big end thing, it can be pretty intimidating and I have no idea how I'm gonna achieve that. So writing things down really helps. And last but not least, I highly recommend talking about your feelings. You're like, oh, kind of mushy, but I swear to God, it will help you so much. Even if you're just talking with a friend, more often than not, you're gonna figure out that they're kind of going through a similar thing. Like, I read a statistic somewhere where it said over 70% of the population will experience imposter syndrome at some point in their life. And knowing how stressed we all are as students, it's probably now, you know? So grab a close friend or colleague or family member or whatever and just kind of tell them what's been sitting on your chest. Another thing that kind of helps about talking it out is that you can kind of listen to yourself and say like, wow, that's actually not quite true. I did do those things and those things are pretty cool, you know, like I deserve kudos for that. After you talk it out, I swear you will feel so much lighter. It will be like a purging thing, cathartic? I don't know. Anyway, you will just feel better. Also, one thing that's good about kind of talking it out is that you realize that everyone's on their own path. And for some of us, we might get to the place that we want to be a lot faster or a little bit slower, and that's okay, you know? Something that I like to remind myself is that if I'm moving towards the place I want to be, even if it's at a slower pace than I would prefer, as long as I'm going in the right direction, then I don't really need to ask much more of myself. And you don't need to either. Alrighty friends, I think that pretty much wraps everything up for today, but if y'all have any suggestions on what you would like to see in the future, so more chatty videos like this, or like a vlog or whatever, please comment it down below, as I am always super open to any suggestions that you might have. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all found this somewhat helpful. You know, if you're gonna spend time watching me talk, I hope it added some value to your lives. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye!